All right, everybody, welcome back once again to Inside the Matrix. And today, back by popular demand, Ola Wolny is back with us for chapter 4 of our meetings. Let's get to it. Ola, welcome back to the show. So good to see you.
Thank you so much, Jimmy, and I'm really, really excited to be back. Thank you so much for having me again. Really excited to be getting into yet another interesting, hopefully, story.
Oh, I'm sure, and you're such a wealth of knowledge. It's wonderful, and a lot of people have asked you, they ask me, when's Ola coming back? When's Ola coming back? So we're happy to have you back again. And I know you've been very busy doing a lot of your events, and then you've got another one coming up in November, and we'll talk about that later. But I thought we'd get into maybe some historical stuff that you've researched, and maybe you could start us off with some of the information that you're kind of focused on and really interested in as far as historical things go. And so I'll let you take off with that.
Absolutely. So what I was thinking today of sort of covering today, or perhaps exploring a little bit, maybe sort of starting a little bit more personal. We've obviously over the past several chapters, we've gone right into the nitty gritty, the feminine alchemy, those kind of teachings. But I appreciate that some people might be sort of questioning, where is it even coming from, right? Which obviously I covered a little bit in terms of this wisdom being more sort of coded in the oral tradition. This is not exactly something that's been written down. So we have legends, we have myths, we have the kind of oral tradition in variety of ethnic groups, etc. But we also have other accounts or another sort of line in which these teachings have been passed on and where they originated. And that is where it gets kind of personal for me, due to the geography, due to the fact where I accidentally, right, like everything is accidental, I happen to live in a place where this whole kind of story comes together. So where to start? You see, several years ago, back some years back, I was into qigong, and I was practicing. There was some kind of event, and this teacher, he was Norwegian. We would quite often sort of play with energy, because he has noticed that I was quite sensitive. So when he did his, the kind of qigong movements which we all see on YouTube, and people kind of flying across the room, well, that didn't happen, but it was quite interesting because as he explained, those kind of really spectacular movements, that's not really that common. Like, you kind of really have to have both sides being very much into the energy work, so that they really, really can feel that energy movement. But what turned out is that it seems to be working on me. So he would show some tricks on me, sort of, trying to maneuver the energy from behind so that I wouldn't see, and I really felt it. So it was quite interesting. And then he said to me that he would really like me to meet the grandmaster that he learned from, who is some kind of Chinese man, like 100 years old, and I was really interested, but then in the end it kind of didn't really work out. And he said to me, can I just show him your picture and see what he says? I said, yeah, of course. And I was kind of thinking that maybe he can. I don't even know what I was thinking, but it was very interesting what came back. So this grandmaster, who obviously, trained those modalities for decades and decades, and has some kind of ability to see a little bit more, he comes back, and out of all things, he says that this woman had an incarnation in some kind of, in France, in some kind of very advanced society in the medieval times, sort of around 12th century, and she was sort of there. That was several years ago, mind you. So at the time, I'm thinking this doesn't make any sense, because this is, when in medieval ages women had any standing at all, and this man tells me that supposedly I was a woman and I had some kind of high standing in that society. That doesn't make sense. So I just disregarded that, but it stayed somewhere at the back of my head. And only over time, I sort of, in not even in my research, but just at that time, maybe half a year later, I came across the Cathars. So the Cathars, again, very misrepresented, and a lot of the teachings about the Cathars, about the Bogomils, are already, the narrative kind of put its stamp on it. So a lot of those teachings are a little bit twisted, and it's not exactly it doesn't really tie up to some of the other accounts that should have supported the same story. So that was my kind of starting point, because he really got me hooked at that point, when it turned out that what he was saying actually seems to be referring to some kind of, mind you, the incarnations, nobody will ever know, but it seems to be really connected to some kind of society which was real. So I was going to start exploring that. And then, as I was living here in the Arctic, there is a very interesting church here. The church is the oldest in the world, most northern, so it's placed the most up north, church that was built not out of wood. So this church, the construction started in the sort of 12th century. And it's been over time, sort of parts have been added, etc. So the interesting thing about this church, apart from obviously this history, is the fact that as you go inside of the church, I will tell you in a minute how it all ties together. As you go inside of that church, there is an altar. So obviously the church is from the medieval times, deep medieval, backwards times, right? So they say. But the altar doesn't have one male figure, apart from Jesus, but different category. There is only women and the altar is massive. It covers, I don't know, maybe 15, 20 female figures, only females, which is very unusual for the time of deep patriarchy in the medieval times, where the woman's position was obviously non-existent. And on top of that, it had very, very interesting symbols on the walls. It had the cross written into a circle. So that I tried to engage the local priests who were there, and also some people from the kind of society that take care of those cultural places. They had absolutely no knowledge. The best I got was that this is some kind of pagan symbol, which was interesting in itself, right? What's a pagan symbol doing in a church?
Yeah.
But that was quite an interesting thing. And as I started looking into the Cathars, of course, very soon after come the Templars, because it was the same time, the same place, same time. And you see, this is where the Templars come into this story, because the Templars, part of the, and mind you, okay, I know that the official narrative of the Knight Templars, and it's absolutely correct, they did evolve into the today's secret societies, the Freemasons, etc. Yes, absolutely correct. However, there is one other part of that order of the Knight Templars that pretty much there is no official accounts. The historians, they don't talk about it, and this is something that I wanted to talk about a little bit more today, because this was pretty much one of that, I wouldn't call it scientific, but it was another way for me to find a confirmation into that kind of wisdom that I've been exposed in other ways too. So this is where those both sides came together. So that's what I kind of thought we could maybe explore today.
Oh yeah, absolutely. That is fascinating, and I think a lot of people are familiar with the Templars and even the Cathars, and the Cathars, their connection with the lineage of Jesus as well.
Mm-hmm.
You hear a lot of people talking about that, but yeah, let's explore that a little bit. So much of our history has been rewritten. We've been misled in so many different ways, to cover the tracks of those who, wish to control us in one way or another. And, we can't, I don't think we can fully trust much of anything that they have to say as far as history goes. Now, archaeologically, we'll see a lot of things that give us really good clues, and we can draw our own conclusions from that. But it's really difficult to tell, for instance, what actually happened in history, because as the saying goes, history is always written by the victors, right?
Right.
By the people who came out on top in the last big vie for control. So with that in mind, we know that we have to take all of history that's been spoon-fed to us with a grain of salt, because, we can't rely on that. So a lot of people also talk about the idea that we've had ancient civilizations which are far more advanced than we are. And there's evidence of that. There's a book called Forbidden Archaeology, which talks about a lot of the things that just don't fit into the, mainstream paradigm of archaeology and the stories that they tell us, which we know are not true. So, okay, well, let's run with that a little bit. Go ahead and give us your take on the Knights Templar and the Cathars and how that moves forward.
Yeah. So what I wanted to sort of cover a little bit today is why even bother with this feminine alchemy, right? Is that some kind of grandmother's wisdom that somebody pulled out from, I pulled out from underneath my pillow? Not exactly. This is the kind of wisdom which is, like you say, if you look into archaeology, the history looks totally different than the official narrative, and this is the story. It's the same story with this alchemy stuff. I call it feminine alchemy. Let's call it alchemy. With these teachings, these are the teachings of the women. This is actually very much in line with the archaeology, the inconvenient archaeology, which going sort of thousands and thousands years back, you see a very clear evidence that patriarchy is not the kind of construct or a concept that has been forever present. It is something that was introduced quite fairly recently, whereas before that time we had reverence to the feminine. So this is going even beyond the goddesses. This is going as far as the kind of paganism and that honor and reverence given to the feminine creation. So very much all that is reflected also in the sort of pagan celebrations, in the dates that Christianity later took over. So we obviously have the eight main Celtic holidays, the kind of marking the 1st of February, the 1st of May, 1st of August, etc., all those 8 major dates plus the equinoxes. And that is really, really the overlay by the Catholic Church of those original celebrations. And So yeah, absolutely. The history is changed. Archaeology proves that very well, especially the one that's not mainstream. And specifically here, the Knight Templars, and what I've discovered looking into the a little bit of this church, which is literally under my nose here. So out of all places, I find myself living on the
Just by
doorstep.
accident, right?
Crazy. So I started looking into that, and it was really mind-blowing for me how it all came together, and how when you look into the Templars, into the story of the Templars, because obviously we kind of going back into the 11th century, and we are going into the Crusades, right? Going to Jerusalem, to those expeditions, those military expeditions, going to Jerusalem to conquer and to take it back from the hands of the non-believers. And so you see, as the story goes, and up until certain point, everything is correct with the official or unofficial narrative. But yes, we have the Knight Templars. They are going to Jerusalem, and an interesting thing is, right, that they are killing in the name of God. So where is the love? But we know that from alchemy there is no love in religions.
Right.
And they go to a very specific place, and this is the interesting part. Why do they go and sort of build their camp and start to sort of camp out at the ruins of the Solomon Temple? What do they know, or what are they trying to find? So of course there is this group of few of them who start to, we shouldn't probably call it excavate, but hey, start to dig, and they are looking for the treasures. They are digging underneath, because obviously the Solomon Temple, that's the King Solomon and the Queen Seba, the link to the Ark of Covenant, amongst other things. So the story here goes that they start digging there, and it takes them several years. It takes them about 9 years, and obviously in that time, they dug out certain things. They bring them back to Europe. Over time, the Knight Templars, as the order, as the whole sort of movement, it grows exponentially. A lot of aristocracy, nobility joins Knight Templars because it is obviously strongly propagated in terms of honor and fame and all that, because in the context of the war with the non-believers. So there is a lot of wealth being pushed that way, because it's clearly very, very convenient. As you join the order, you have to give up your possessions and the land. So you kind of join poor, but your possessions belong to the whole order, right? So they become extremely, extremely rich, powerful, wealthy. They have reach over the whole Europe, Scandinavia, into the east. So basically, very, very quickly expands. However, there are those that are digging under the Solomon's Temple, and as it seems, they really, really get to something. So the Ark of Covenant, what is that? What's the story with Solomon, and what was the whole context? So King Solomon was one of the patriarch who decided, who really, really wanted to enter into this covenant with God. with the god, the archon, however we want to call them, in order to because obviously the gods, the archons, these are the more advanced races who are using the technology, who are using mind-based skills to sort of mimic and access the supernatural phenomena. So Solomon wants to enter into this covenant with God for God to bestow upon him some supernatural psychic abilities, the kind of abilities of the third eye. So the mind, very much the mind, right? Which is pretty much where all of those operate. And so the Ark of Covenant is effectively this magical vessel which produces the manna, the ormus, right? The monoatomic gold. But what is the monoatomic gold in reality? Is that the kind of monoatomic gold that we can buy now on eBay? Definitely not, right? This is where the Queen Seba comes in. So that story I'm gonna park for a little bit, but the point is that back at the time, the priests entering the temple and going to participate in the Holy Communion. You see, this is interesting because that is the original communion. The Holy Communion was about distribution of the manna, not about bread and body of a dead man.
Eating the body of somebody that passed.
Right? Satanic rituals. So as they take, as they are fed by this manna, they literally glow. They leave the temple glowing. So this is the kind of light that starts to be emitted from them. So that is very, very interesting. But you see, the question is, what is in that ormus? What's in that manna? Is that really something that can be replicated by a chemical procedure? Not really. This is where Queen Seba comes in, but that's another story. So yes, the Ark of Covenant there, and of course the Templars are slowly learning certain wisdom around those things. This is how they came into wisdom that was kept in the East. And you see, back at some point there, after they were digging, there was a very interesting scene. That was the most deciding thing that happened, because suddenly they find themselves surrounded by the non-believers, the Muslims, or however the Arabs from that area. And they got kind of very surprised how they made it through the entry, which was obviously watched by the guards. So they asked if they killed anybody. They said no, they didn't. They are coming in peace, and they called the Templars brothers, and they asked them if they could ask their own army, the other knights, to stop the conflict, to stop the war, which was really, really interesting, because here you have, those that you're coming to sort of conquer and to change their fate, because they are considered obviously primitive, and they are the ones talking to you about love and talking to you about not causing any more conflict. Would that be the Moors?
Would that be the Moors? Would that be the Moors?
Yeah, so that's where you have the Templars, right, meeting the ones that they were supposedly meant to be fighting against. And this whole conflict, up until this moment, there never been peace in Jerusalem. Why? Why is it so important that there is always state of war and conflict in that area? So the locals tell them that Jerusalem is actually what we can call a portal. What kind of portal? this is going back now to the times where the feminine, there was the reverence of the feminine, because there are places on earth, and you can look that up in for example in the Celtic legends, or in the Scythia, ancient Scythia, talking about the wells and the birthing sites and the kind of the portals of the mother. So Jerusalem is one of such portals. This is why the churches have been built at certain sites. This is why the cathedrals have been built at certain sites, right? Well, the cathedral for another purpose, but the churches, when the Catholic Church came over and sort of put its hand and literally closed down certain energy centers. By building a church, so they wanted to take over that energy. So Jerusalem being one of such portals, and the Templars were really shocked. There were certain things that they experienced that the locals showed them and explained to them that literally made them give up their faith, the Catholic faith, right? Remember that they were quite Orthodox Catholics. They were really set onto what they were believing. That's why they were even there. So they go back to France, and they never ever worship the God, the original God, the Catholic faith God, ever again. So what happened there? What kind of wisdom was given by the locals? Well, first of all, the locals said that the God that they worship, or the God that's ascribed to them, is not a masculine God. This is one of that original interesting point about that faith, which obviously later got again twisted, is that the original teachings of that faith was reverence to the feminine. And there is a lot of alchemy teachings that surround this meeting and the sort of sharing of that wisdom which the Templars received in Jerusalem from the locals. And they took it back. And this is literally where you can find the kind of, I wouldn't call it, this is where the alchemy comes from, because that's not where it comes from. This is one of those places where in quite an official manner, that knowledge, that wisdom was kept, and it was later sort of passed down. The only problem with the Templars, because a lot of people will say probably that, well, hold on a minute, the Templars, they evolved into, all they really gave the grounds for the banking system, for pretty much the whole matrix as it looks like right now, which is absolutely fair, and that's correct. However, what people very often do not see, do not appreciate, is that the Templars, the order, had sort of two orders underneath it, the inner tradition and the outer tradition, or the inner circle and the outer circle. And very much the outer one was the one that everybody, the historians and the academics, this is the order that they effectively talk about when they talk about the Templars. It is the outer tradition. Yes, they were focused on the money. They were focused on the wealth, on the land, and that kind of greed was there, and really not the right attitude, not corresponding to what supposedly originally the whole thing was about. Still, it was about religion, so how can it be even positive? But hey,
right.
But then you have this inner tradition, and that inner tradition, that inner circle within the Knight Templars, that was one of the biggest secrets of the Order of Templars, and that order was literally established by those who were there at Jerusalem digging under the Temple of Solomon, getting to know those secrets from the locals there, and taking them back to France. So there was a bit of a conspiracy around that inner circle, as in nobody knew who belongs to the inner circle. Nobody knew that they didn't identify themselves. These were the highest level of mysteries that were being kept by them. They were the ones who later built the cathedrals. They were the one who later went around, and as it seems, this church literally under my nose here is the one described by them, because they have been building churches at very specific places, as in sort of in every frontier, and this one is obviously the furthest up north. This is what seems to be based on symbology, based on what you see on the altar, and the sort of story there. This is very, very clear that the church originally and up until this day, in a very inconspicuous manner, is actually holding the tradition of the feminine line, the tradition of alchemy. It very much stores and houses the secrets of alchemy, the symbology. So the cross. And the cross is not the kind of cross that we are used to in the Catholic Church. It is the cross whereby the sort of vertical and the horizontal arm are equal. So and then we have it in a circle. So this is a cross linked to the true original communion, not to the death of a man on a cross, which is what the Catholic Church promotes. So you see, this wisdom that I represent, it is not just something out of, old grandma's story, or a legend or a myth. It is represented in by the Cathars, by the Templars, the inner tradition of the Templars, which never had anything to do with the Freemasonry. It never evolved that way. This was a totally different line. And mind you, when later there was a decision made to kill them all, to murder them all, the King of France and the Pope, obviously they were not able to identify who belongs to that inner tradition, to that inner circle. So the decision was made to just kill all of them. This is how they dealt with that later. But of course, the inner tradition, in that mostly oral tradition, but not only, it survived.
Yeah, and we all heard that story of how they did that. It's insanity has reigned through our history, and we see the results of it even today. And it's the result of the negative masculine, it just taking over, and just becoming unbelievably cruel and vicious and self-centered, and all the things that we are against. Those of us who want peaceful lives and prosperity and cooperation and joy for everyone, we see that happening everywhere. But something you mentioned is really fascinating to me. You mentioned about it being a portal in Jerusalem. Mm-hmm. And I think there's probably many portals like that. One that comes to mind immediately would be like the Great Pyramid in Egypt. So maybe you could talk a little bit about what was the portal used for, and where did it go? Did it go to another dimension? Did it go to another civilization? We always have these questions about things because, people talk about portals all the time, and it makes a lot of sense. And even, in Star Trek and all that, we have portals and wormholes and all that kind of fun stuff. But there seems to be a lot to that, and not just in science fiction, but in reality. And I happen to know people that travel around around the world and do work at various portals and do clearings and things like that. So it's very fascinating. So can you tell us a little bit more about the portal?
So I think we have to be also very careful in sort of identifying what kind of portal we are talking about. Not to mention that, of course, portal is the favorite word of the new age now. So
yeah.
That's not the kind of portals I'm talking about. And of course, there are portals, like you said. We have there is a portal in the ancient Sumer, so that's the Persia, right? That's the kind of Iraq area, and that was the Anunnaki portal. So this was something for them to move in and out, and this is later, obviously, this whole war in the Gulf had much more esoteric meaning than what we think, and it wasn't even about oil, and it wasn't about this and that. It was sort of digging deeper. The point there was that somebody decided that maybe they can kind of collect certain artifacts from local museums, put them together, and fire up that portal, which is obviously a little bit maybe not in line with everyone's wishes at the time. So the conflicts that we see them, of course, are never really what they seem to be. But the portal that's in Jerusalem, that is a little bit of a different type of portal. So some of those portals are the portals of those races, of those parasites that came in here and obviously abusing, and sucking the energy. But Jerusalem specifically is one of those portals to do with the earth and to do with the connection to some of the star systems that are I wouldn't call it benevolent, but they are linked to sort of to the energetic construct of this world. So as you probably remember me speak about the tree of life, which is obviously the motif present, for example, in the Norse mythology, whereas we have the roots going into the womb of the earth, and the branches of the tree going out. And where is the going out? Well, ultimately it ends in the connection. That energetic connection is with the womb, the cosmic womb, so the center of the Milky Way galaxy. But before we get there, and this is not my sort of, I've not gotten a download here. I'm telling you, sort of putting together certain information from ancient texts and from the interpretation of some of the mythology, etc., including the Sumerian tablets. There is a sort of cascade of gateways, if you like. So of course there's our sun. The next one is Sirius, and after that is Alcyon. This is that kind of portal gateway cascade. So the portals on Earth are connected to these ones. The portals of the sort of benevolent, the positive, the ones that are connected to the Earth, not to those races. Jerusalem being one of them. So this is one of the most important portals, connected obviously with the energy of the earth, connected to sort of energetically to that tree of life. And one of the most dangerous portals for those parasites. So if that portal can be restarted, if that portal can sort of be brought back to its original design or what it was used for, then that's pretty much game over. This is why you see constantly in that area a level of conflict, a level of misery, a level of fear, etc., because these energies are constantly holding holding the sort of that overall energy down, and in that kind of energy, creation is blocked. Creation, as in that alchemical creation, is blocked. And of course, you might say, but hold on a minute, it's actually quite okay to go and visit. Yes, but think about the context of what's been done there. Jerusalem is the heart of three religions, right? Monotheistic religions. We have the Christianity, we have the Judaism, and we have the Muslim religion. So all of them, and of course in Judaism, they have their Western Wall there, right? And they come and cry at that wall because of the history of the temple being destroyed and then rebuilt and destroyed, etc. So there is a lot of grief and those sort of low emotions, if you like, associated with that. On the Christianity side, what do we have? Well, in a close proximity, there we have the Via Crucis, the stations of the cross. So again, associated with the mystery of life, as it should be, because that is the right timing. But what is being celebrated, or what is being carried out? A mystery of death. So another religion, that kind of angle. And then we have obviously the Muslim side of things, with, you know, total disregard for women. If you want to go in there and visit, men and women are separated. Women are not even allowed to certain parts. So everybody is kind of kept separately. So you see, there is, in many ways, they are going after making sure that there is no positive energy around it. There is nothing, that the women are kept away. There is this crying. There is this element of celebrating death and misery, that is not the energy that's going to activate the portal of life. This is a portal of life. So they are energetically, and we know that, you know, this is, I'm not trying to sound overly esoteric here. We know that they are playing with energy. If only we could see how they harvest the energy, how they suck the energy out of us through cold, through literally a person going to church and kneeling. If you could see that physically, this is why we have lost the connection to that multidimensional self, so that we cannot see beyond the physical. We don't see what happens on any other level. But that's exactly what's going on. So if we can appreciate that there are sort of other ways in which we are being affected other than just physical, then we would very quickly understand exactly in what way they control those portals.
Yeah, it makes perfect sense. And just like you pointed out, the fact that area has been fought over and to this day is still, you know, in contention. And, you know, everybody wants to control it. There must be an underlying reason that they don't tell anybody about, why they feel the need to control that whole area. And there's other places too. Another thing that I was thinking about is, you know, we've talked about this before, that this world, we're living in a construct, you know, and it's a controlled construct. We're not a rock flying, hurtling through space endlessly at millions of miles an hour. We're in a construct that is contained. Now, how do you see, like, for instance, galaxies and other, are they within our construct? Are they on the other side of what many people refer to as some type of a dome or energetic structure, which is above us, you know, holding in the atmosphere and things like that? How do you see all that?
So again, back to the Gnostics, for example, when they describe the construct and they describe it, it seems like there are different sort of levels. We might see from our perspective just like there is a dome and that's it, but actually it seems to be like perhaps a change in a dimension. So what we perceive to be a dome, that's another dimension that we do not have access to. So literally, in that way, we are shielded from something else. But the Gnostic seems to be describing different levels, and at those levels we have, for example, the constellations of the zodiac. So this is back to what I described at one of the first conversations that we had, that the zodiac, the constellations of the zodiac, they belong to the mechanism of control of this space. And of course, astrology, it's neither bad or good. It just is. It's mathematics. It is a way to decipher the kind of constraints and the predeterministic conditions that they have set out for us here. But the constellations, so at least the zodiac constellations, seem to be still within this construct. The planets, at least the ones that we obviously use, still within the construct. I would say that we are trying to look at it again in a way that we understand space, as in something is close, something is far. I think that we're dealing with a different phenomena. I probably will never grasp it with my own mind exactly what we are looking at, but I would say that the reason why there are portals on the earth, including, for example, Anunnaki portal, right? I would argue that the space looks a little bit different than what we think. So those other galaxies, or maybe not galaxies, but those other star clusters, even closer to us, some other constellations, I would imagine they might be not even further or closer. They might be accessible literally through, again, some kind of portals. So I would say that there are certain things that are captured within this construct and other things are not. I would say that other things are, I think that our perception of the construct itself, as in something is inside, something is outside, I think that this technology is so advanced that it gives us that kind of perception, but that does not necessarily mean that that's exactly, that there is literally a physical kind of dome. I would say it's like a step change in dimensions.
Yeah, that's interesting, and it's very thought-provoking, because I think you're right that in our current state of consciousness, it's very difficult to really grasp what this whole construct is all about, because it's extremely complex. And also, people talk about outer space being outer as in this way and that way, not this way and this way, but right. Outer, like there could be much more land that we've been prohibited from exploring and going to, example of Antarctica.
Which absolutely, I totally agree with that. You see, when I see people arguing, which is another trap, arguing if the earth is flat or round or this or that, I kind of feel like everybody's potentially right, because I feel that this dome is literally like a sort of capsule, like we are living on some kind of on a part of a bigger area, whatever that area is, if it's round or if it's flat as well. But I would say that we are living in some kind of encapsulated environment, having these kind of conditions and this kind of experience. And this is why they created the construct. They can control a confined space, and we see it as our whole world, right? When probably it's not. So that's how I would pretty much agree with you that there's probably something out there.
I think that we have been programmed so heavily into steering away from our own divinity. I refer to religions and things like that. And religions to me would include all kinds of mind control systems. I call them mind boxes. Religions are mind boxes because they put you in a certain belief system, and anything outside of that is heresy. It's it's terrible. You can't go there. And that really, it just drives a wedge between groups of different people who will buy into these belief systems. And that's a huge problem, because we will never experience the type of world that we would all love to have if we can't get beyond these mind boxes. We have to look for the commonality of what all human beings, what is good for everyone, what is good for every human being, every animal, and the environment, all those things together. But we've got a system, like I mentioned before, with the negative masculine, that has taken control of this entire construct. And our job is to wake up, see it for what it is, and then not cooperate with it, because non-cooperation is the answer, to us getting the type of world that we need. But we're not there yet in sufficient numbers, it appears.
But you see, that's I think that this whole notion of people thinking that this mass disobedience, not cooperation, is the answer. What if that is, again, our perception from this very limited view? Because you see, my question then is, why, if it's that simple and it's that physical, right? And we know that it's actually not. Why do we have portals? Why witches were killed? Why the Cathars were killed? Why the Templars were killed? Why? There were a lot of people over time that were disobedient, and that wasn't kind of enough. That wasn't it. So you see the message that the Cathars and the Templars, that inner tradition, not the outside had nothing to do with this, that they tried to really code. And we see that coming through, because there were prophecies that are coming true right now. And I think we talked about it a little bit last time. That's perhaps the answer is different. Why Jerusalem is what is so important about Jerusalem? What people, for example, don't know is why Jesus. Okay, Jesus and Mary Magdalene, why were they targeted at the time? Why was he sentenced? Why was he hung on a cross? Because they were preparing for a very significant event. You see, this is to do with the true hieros gamos, the sacred union, which is obviously it's a little bit more complicated than just a union between man and a woman, because the sort of initial hieros gamos is a woman within herself. It's a woman, the body, the Holy Spirit, and the soul. She needs to reconnect that, and then she can take a man through hieros gamos. So Mary Magdalene and Jesus were preparing for hieros gamos. So the highest level, the highest possible way of connecting of a man and a woman. And of course, we're talking about sexual union as well. However, we're talking not just about random sexual acts, which is what happens to be prevalent right now. We're talking about a union of two people in that highest level of unconditional love. So that in itself has a very implosive energy. It opens portals. It clears certain energy. So that is the reason why, literally just before it happened, Jesus was pulled out and tried for what he was tried and then sentenced. So the point was to prevent it, right? Why are they so interested in that? If it was only about disobedience, we have disobedience all the time. That doesn't really fix anything. If they are playing an energetic game, why would a physical game outsmart or outplay the energetic game? I don't think it does. This is
I think it seems like the wisdom that you're talking about needs to proliferate throughout humanity in order to be utilized. If people don't even know that exists, then it's not something that they can access or actually utilize. And unfortunately,
which is by design, right? It's by design.
Right, yeah.
People don't know about it anymore.
And the only thing that we do have access to, and we've never really used, and when I talk about non-cooperation, it's never been on a mass scale or even a majority of people. It's always been a small group of people that will stand up to a system. It's never been that the majority of people will just say, you know what, we're just not going along with this. If that happens, to me, that's a game changer. But I see what you're talking about, and I wonder how in the world we could ever get to a point where that knowledge, of what comes through in these portals and that higher spiritual consciousness and knowledge, how can we get that out to the world, for people to understand and be able to use?
Well, you see, again, we're kind of have the tendency, right, to apply that programmed thinking, that the trick and the magic is in numbers. Like, people, we need to get some magic number of people aware of it and doing it in order to make the difference. And actually, the teachings of the feminine line, which you can find echoed in the legends, in the stories, in the fairy tales. The story goes that it's enough for one person who fully activates that, and mind you, activates, okay, this is not, we're not talking some kind of initiations and some weird third eye exercises. Absolutely not. We're talking about the kind of state of deprogramming and really going back to self, loving yourself, treating yourself right, respecting, sort of unpeeling the layers of all that programming. And it needs to be a woman. Okay, I'm sorry, this is not a time for heroes. It needs to be a woman, because women are the creators. Women have the holy grail, which is the holy grail of the Templars' holy grail, right? It is
and women are the portals. Women are the portals.
Absolutely. So you see, this is the thing, that those portals that we're talking about in the context of Jerusalem or any other location, that's all fine, but those portals are in a way opened in a certain place, very specific places, and the Templars talk about it. These are the places where a woman finds herself and awakens what? To the matrix, to corporate job? No, awakens to the alchemy. So she activates the alchemy.
I say let's get on with that.
Right? Let's get on.
Let's get on with it. Let's bring that, whoever that woman is or group of women, let's get them in there and let them create a wondrous world for us. That would for everyone. That would be great.
Yeah, if only so simple, right? But
how do we get there? That's my next question. How do we get there?
Well, this is where it kind of gets as complicated as easy, because, like I said, there is no rituals here, there is no initiations, there is no meditation to be done. It is literally how you live your life. It is is a woman in some kind of cult? Is a woman still giving up that power to the external, whether that be at home, whether that be at work? Is the woman still trying to save everybody? Does it's the behaviors, and it's the kind of emotional state that we're talking about here. So a lot of women have that tendency to, because that's how we were programmed, that we have to do everything, and we have to sacrifice for everyone, and this is how we prove that we are even useful. That's all programming that needs to go. A woman who doesn't who doesn't respect herself, who doesn't respect the body. I mean, we're talking holy grail. That's the womb. If you don't see it like that, if there is any level of disrespect, and of course, what's the easiest way to disrespect? Sexual, right? So this is why we have a world that's soaking up of the low vibrational sex, because that sex destroys creation. So women engaging in any, I'm not even just talking the promiscuous behaviors, I'm also talking about any level where there is some kind of abuse or something that goes against the woman's wishes, right? So whenever she's sacrificing in one way or another, whenever she's doing something against herself, it closes creation. whenever a woman is disconnected, whenever a woman goes too much into that kind of mind-based, I don't want to say it logical, because women are very logical, no problem. But when a woman starts going very much into that kind of mind-based, disconnected from the essence of, that intuition, that guidance, that kind of sixth sense, or however we want to call it, and she kind of becomes scared, and she's focused on survival, and she kind of, starts doing it that logical way, then she actually doesn't let it flow. It's a little bit more complicated. I don't want to make it sound new agey, but the point is literally how you live your life. It is chop wood, carry water, as I always say. It is not about anything very special. It is about how we live our lives, and what is it that I allow, and what is it that I don't tolerate, and really, really have those boundaries. Get back to oneself. And of course, a lot of deprogramming. For example, how am I going to survive, right? I need to make money, I need to do this, I need to hustle. All wrong. So there's a lot of deprogramming to be done, and of course, some of the kind of traumas that are holding us back. So a lot of awareness, and again, does that mean like a million years of shadow work, etc.? No, it doesn't, because again, then you're playing the game of the Matrix. So this is not to do with the mind, but it is literally to do with how you see yourself, how you live your life, every single decision in your life.
Absolutely. Okay, so let's talk about your next event. And I know that you're teaching not only women but men as well. A lot of these advanced concepts and understanding. So let's talk about what you got going on.
Not at all advanced. I wouldn't even call it teaching. So what I do is I absolutely would love to invite anybody to experience this place where I happen to live, and there are, I think we spoke about it, there are certain accounts, historical accounts, that suggest this is the ancient Hyperborea. So there is something very, very special about this place. If the church is not special enough, then I can tell you 60 kilometers in a straight line from my house is the NASA Space Center. So my question is, what are they doing in here?
Why are they there? Yeah.
Why are they here? Well, the local shamans, and of course, there is no reason to build the church by the Templars if this place has nothing of significance. So the local shamans, for example, the Sami shamans, they say that there is a portal here as well. So NASA is literally the portal is right in between the church and the NASA center. So this is a very, very special place. I think that it's one of those places that in a way has been maybe not left untouched, because clearly they are keeping an eye, but probably due to the geography, to the weather, it is just not as attractive. Obviously, it's much more attractive in the kind of warmer places. So this energy is a little bit more untouched. So I think that if you are able to come here and experience that, it is extremely transformational, and you can really, really connect with that primal sort of forces. So what I really, really offer is the opportunity to come here, experience that, to see the region. Of course, last time in June, I had an amazing group, and that was the polar day. So we had 24/7 sun. This time around in November, we are, this is the time of the Northern Lights. So if you want to experience and see some of the wonders of the world, the Northern Lights, that's a perfect place. And of course, we will be going to those very special places, the sacred energy sites, as per the legends from this region. And yes, as much as I can share, I will be sharing what I know, what's been passed down to me as well. And this event is open to both men and women. So anybody who is interested can join us. I don't put myself in any sort of teaching position. I can only share what I know. The power is in everybody. It's equal. So if anybody fancy winter in the Arctic, it's not as scary as it sounds.
So what are the dates that you're talking about?
We're talking the 4th until the 11th of November. So yeah, just over sort of 2.5 months away or so, 2 months away. It's Lofoten, again, Lofoten, Norway. So the north of Norway. Please do not be afraid of the weather. We actually get that proper winter a little bit later, past even December. So November is fairly stable. Probably I don't know what guys, I don't know the Fahrenheit, but it's probably about -10 to +5 Celsius. So it's not it's not undoable.
Yeah. You won't freeze to death.
Well, I survived. I'm not from here, and it's doable.
Yeah. Okay. So tell us your website, and I will also put a link in the description here. So people that are interested, they can check that out on your website as well.
Absolutely. So you can find me on www.selfmasteryquest.com. And the events, so the event that's coming up is all the details are explained, so you can find the dates and the whole program there. And obviously, I also do the matrix code consultations. So if you want to know how you've been caught in the web, you can check that out too.
Okay, wonderful. Ola, thank you once again for sharing your wisdom with us.
Pleasure.
We hope to get you back on after you've had your event, and maybe we'll talk about what went on there and how people experienced that whole situation. So wonderful. If you want to check out Ola's event, check out her website. Again, we'll have it in the description for you. And until next time, we'll see all of you inside the matrix until we figure out a way to get out. Okay. All right. Bye.
Good night, everybody.